Hi, this is Rob Madison, and I want to welcome you to this little brief tutorial about our Interconnect revenue mapping exercise. Many of you have taken the training class, the Revenue Assurance Foundations class, and during that class we were able to introduce you to the concept of revenue mapping, and we were able to introduce you to the concept of the standard controls and the basic methodology for how GRAPA promotes the assurance of revenues from end to end across the entire revenue stream. Unfortunately, in the classroom, it's not possible to focus on specifics about your own personal environment. That's something you can only do at your location. So we've created this revenue mapping exercise as a way for us to continue the learning and give you a chance to do a real revenue mapping exercise in your own organization and yet benefit from the structure and the guidance that the GRAPA faculty can give you along the way. So this video is the introduction to this revenue mapping process. The revenue mapping process is managed through a GRAPA group. It's been organized as a homework assignment to help revenue assurance and fraud students to apply what they learned in the classroom to their real-world environment. The Interconnect line of business is one of the richest and most easily attacked by leakage and fraud situations, and therefore understanding and assuring that all of the different risks areas are understood, assessed, and have proper controls in place is a high priority for many teams. Now, the way these groups work is simple. You subscribe to the group, which is an email listserv type function, and you will be sent different emails with different assignments. When you receive the assignment email, watch the videos, read the materials that you're asked to review, pull up the slides from the class and review those, review the control spreadsheets, and then do the things that you're asked to do. When you finish the assignment, you attach the deliverable to the assignment email and hit reply, and that will come back to the group. And that way the faculty will be able to give you feedback on the work that you're doing, and you can be sure that you're staying on track through the exercise. So the purpose of this exercise is to help students become familiar with the right contact people. You need to get to know who your subject matter experts are, the people that can serve as your reference when interconnect leakage and fraud scenarios occur. It's to provide students with the ability to get familiar with the details of the different areas of your interconnect risk, and it lets you actually develop a controls map for yourself. So there are 9 steps in this process. Step 1, get permission from your manager. 2, identify the domains. 3, identify your subject matter experts or your SMEs. 4, get familiar with the controls. 5, interview each SME. 6, fill out the controls list. 7, as you finish the domains, send your mapping to the GRAPA faculty so that we can give you feedback. Based upon the feedback we give you, you can then put together a final report to show your manager and to discuss the different risks that you found throughout the exercise. So let's start at the beginning. Step 1, getting permission. It's very important before you take on an exercise like this that your managers know what you're doing and that they approve. You're going to be going into a lot of different areas, into network, into interconnect operations, into billing. You're going to be asking questions that might make people feel a little bit nervous. So it's important that politically you're covered and that you have clearance to do this. It's also going to take time, and it's going to be time taken away from other work you're supposed to do. So it's important. Step 1, get your management permission. Make sure they understand what the project is and how long it's going to take. When you have that, type I am ready to start in the subject line for your instructions email for step 1. Hit reply, we'll get it, and then we'll know that we're ready to begin. Before we begin the actual mapping of the revenue streams, it's very important that we first of all get the revenue reporting numbers. It's very important that we understand how much revenue is at stake so that we can put our proper prioritization on the efforts that we're making. So in order to determine this, you need to get access to the revenue numbers for Interconnect, identify the person who can provide you with this information, and get a copy of the revenue report for the last several months. When you get the information, put it in a spreadsheet, attach it to the Step 1A revenue report instructions email, hit return or hit reply, and everyone will have a chance to see what your revenue numbers for that revenue stream look like. The next step is to identify your domains. So what you need to do is download the copy of the Interconnect control spreadsheet. A copy of it will be emailed to you with the step 2 instructions. So there are many different domains that can be included in your revenue map. You've got to determine which ones are going to be included. So when you get a copy of the standard controls sheet, take a look at the first page and look at the domain summary page. Familiarize yourself with each of the domains. Discuss with your manager which ones you're going to include, which ones you're not going to include. Then on the first page of the spreadsheet, say included for those domains that you're going to include. Attach that spreadsheet to the step 2 instructions, hit reply, and then we'll know that you're ready for the next step. After you've identified those domains, you're now going to have to find one subject matter expert at least for each of those domains. The subject matter expert is a person that understands the area, that could be helpful to you, give you information about what you need to know to understand where the controls are and whether they're being done or not. So you need to figure out who is the right person to talk to. Ask your manager, ask your peers, ask your people who know people. What's important is that you want to find the best person to be your subject matter expert, and best means they're knowledgeable and they're willing to be helpful. When you're finished, create a spreadsheet called sme.xls, put the names of the people and the domains they're going to help you with, attach that to the step 3 instructions email, hit reply, and then we'll know you're ready for the next step. Step 4, before you go and waste a subject matter expert's time, you need to be very sure about what you're going to talk to them about. So step 4 is the familiarization with the controls. You want to take a look at the standard controls in each of those domains, review them each one so that you understand what it is, what it means, what's it for. You can look at your slides from the training class, you can talk to your peers, you can send emails to your faculty advisor in the step 4 assignment to get help, but make sure you're clear before you go to your subject matter expert. These are the different domains that are included in the Interconnect domain coverage area: access architecture, the network topology, points of incursion, the service delivery architecture, switches, routers, routing tables, CDR tables, security rules, the mediation system, interconnect billing, monthly and daily cycles, where we're making sure we don't lose revenue due to problems with the processing of CDRs, or with rating, revenue recognition, or the other billing system monthly cycle risks. We then have the agreement assurance, making sure that the terms and the conditions of the agreement with the partner are being understood, implemented, enforced, and that we're verifying that enforcement. The margin assurance, assuring that the profit is coming in from each of these different partners. Assuring the rate change life cycle. Changing rates can be a big risk area and a big problem for many telecoms. Enforcing service levels, which is the service level enforcement area. Assuring the accuracy, integrity, timeliness of the settlement process. Assuring integrity and compliance with corporate policy as far as selecting partners is concerned, and then of course making sure the controls are in place for making changes to routing. So each of those domains is potential. In the earlier phase, you decided which ones you were going to cover or not. Now for the ones that are going to be in scope, you're going to go through and make sure you understand each of the controls on an operational level. You're then going to start the interview sequence. For each domain, you'll do the sequence over again. For one domain, prepare your control spreadsheet. Arrange a meeting with the subject matter expert. It can be by the phone, in person. It can even be by email if you're really good. Ask the SME for help in understanding when, where, and how these controls are done. And if they're not done, find out why they're not done. Now, people may get defensive or they may get upset. So if they're going to ask you, why do you want to know these things, you tell them it's a revenue assurance homework project. If you say homework, it should take the sting out of it. They shouldn't be so nervous about it. After the interview, your job will be to return to your manager, talk to the audit people, the SOX people, anybody that you're working with, and determine which controls are in place and which are not. Now, it's very important that you understand that you are mapping controls. When you map controls, you don't fix anything. You don't start making a fuss and saying we need to change this, we need to address this. All you do is score the controls. And that means you go look at the control, determine if it's being done or not, and go by our scale of 1 to 5. We have a separate video about control scoring that you should watch as well. So when all the controls are scored, you add it up, you put it onto the cover page for the domain and give a score to the domain, and then prepare to send it to the GRAPA team. So after you've scored a domain, we ask that you send the spreadsheet to the GRAPA team for that domain. We don't want you to wait until you've done all the domains, because that's going to take too long and then everything gets bottled up. So when you finish a domain, take the spreadsheet, attach it to the Step 7 instructions email, hit reply, we'll get it. That way we'll be able to review it and get back to you on it. Step 8 is where GRAPA comes in. We'll review the controls and we'll give you feedback about any problems that we see or errors that might have been in the controls mapping that you did. And then based upon that feedback that we give you, you can turn it into management and discuss your findings with the management team. So that's the overview of the revenue mapping exercise for Interconnect. I hope that you're able to go through this process with us. We will have detailed videos and detailed instructions on different parts interspersed in the emails that we send to you. So this is just our introduction so that you have an overview of the process. I look forward to working with you, and good luck.